Welcome back, everyone. We're 2 weeks away. The album comes out on 7/14, and we're here today to talk about the end of that. Um, we're picking up in May of 2008, skipping ahead 2 months from last time. But before we do that, we're going to rewind back to January of 2008. I transferred to this school at the same time as a young woman who I had judged based on her appearance when we were both at orientation to be too beautiful for me to even speak to. I remember, you know, the the first glance that I got of this person and immediately looking away and being like, oh, okay, that's way out of my league. Uh, I was someone who was obnoxious and, put on this sort of persona to really throw the scent off of some pretty significant, deep lying insecurity. And I was, there was no way I was going to risk the devastation of my self-esteem that would come with having a conversation with someone of that level of attractiveness. Now, what ended up happening is I joined an a cappella group at this school, and then a couple weeks later, this same woman joined that a cappella group, and I was sort of forced to be in the same room with her on a regular basis. And, we struck up a friendship, and I, of course, was, very interested in making that something other than a friendship. Now, in the last video, we talked about how, for me, trying to sleep with someone is an excellent distraction from thoughts I have about myself not being good enough, or just generally not being up to the task of being a person. And this was an excellent distraction because this woman was in a relationship with someone who went to a different school in a different state. And so it was kind of safe for me to flirt with her and, spend time with her socially. But it did get very frustrating because I grew to be very attracted to this person emotionally or psychologically, in addition to physically. And, she was very insistent that she was happy in her relationship and that she loved her boyfriend. And I felt like this whole semester I was being given signals that indicated otherwise. I felt like I was picking up on a mutual attraction. And every time I sort of called attention to that, I would be rebuffed with, no, I'm very happy in my relationship. I love my boyfriend. And then, another invitation would come to spend time together. And I would be like, And so by the end of the semester, I was pretty worn out by that. And I was pretty frustrated. And, the semester ended in May, and I come home and I'm sort of reflecting on how the last 3 months went, and I'm just infatuated with this person. And I'm thinking about her all the time, and, I'm back in my hometown, which is, about 100 miles away from where she is, and, trying to live my life, and just, pretty irritated by the way the last 3 months went. I'm pretty sure I'm not crazy. I'm pretty sure I'm not inventing this mutual attraction. And so I end up writing this song called The End of That. Now, if you listen to one track on this album, listen to this track. It is the best work that we did collectively. Tim and Barry did an amazing job on this song, and it's one of a couple of examples throughout the song of one that I had no intention of contributing any piano to, and the two of them saying, well, you play the piano, sit down and play the piano. And now there's a piano on the track, and it sounds really good. In addition to the really good, the just perfect accent of lead guitar that Barry put on this track, and, the job that Tim did with the beat and the bass. It just slaps. It just fucking slaps. So I really hope you listen to it. But the idea behind the song, the chorus goes, it started so nice. Men and women were both so polite. But then people started getting needy, getting greedy, and that was the end of that. And, there's a way to interpret that as sort of a nostalgia or a yearning or an appreciation for a kind of courtship that existed centuries ago or decades ago, which is not my take on it. I think that's horseshit. I don't think the good old days were that good, especially when it comes to men and women. Especially when it comes to, the fact that for the majority of human history, women were treated as property. But what it's more about for me is sort of in the beginnings of courtship, whether it be, and in whatever time and place they occur, people tread very lightly. And then there's a certain familiarity that gets accomplished, or there's a certain level of comfortability that takes place where I know this is true for me, people start to develop expectations. And one of the most damaging things that I can do in a relationship is have expectations of my partner and how they should behave, and what kind of when I think of, you owe me this, or I deserve this, and the fact is that is not true, because that other person is their own entity, and they have their own soul, and they have their own life and their own agenda. And it doesn't always have to conform to me advancing mine. When I get into that headspace, I start getting needy, I start getting greedy. And, in this example, the situation in which this song was written, this is more directed at the other person. But it could be just as true of me in this scenario. I'm in this situation where we're getting closer. There's, inside jokes are starting to develop. And, I think I am, as a result of, this mutual attraction that I'm detecting, I feel like I'm owed a certain amount of honesty. I think I'm owed a certain amount of, I think that's really what it boiled down to. Is like I felt like I was owed the honesty that came with, yes, there is a mutual attraction here. And, but I'm in this other relationship and I'm committed to that. That's not what I got. What I got was, I don't have any feelings for you. I'm in this other relationship. I'm committed to that. And that wasn't the truth. And I felt like I was owed the truth. But, my expectations of that led to me being pretty salty. And, we'll get further along in this story as we get further along in the overall story. This is not something we're going to leave with this particular track. This has a lot more to do with things moving forward. But that's sort of what the crux of the lyrics are of this piece is, the damaging effect that those kinds of expectations can have on not just romantic relationships, but in this case, romantic relationships in particular. So this is the end of that. And like I said, it's the slappiest song on the album. So if you pick one to check out, check this one out. people started getting needy, getting greedy, and that was the end of that. That was the end of that. You cheat, you lie, you try so hard, but you're wrong if you think that will get you very far. Those rain clouds will follow you, it don't matter what you do once you break the cardinal rule. And you're playing with fire now when you start to thinking that love is just a game for fools. Oh, it started so nice, men and women were both so polite, but then people started getting needy, getting greedy, and that was the end of that. That was the end of that. So sell your soul and your whole life too. I just hope you find the price is right for you. 'Cause 15 years from now, will you still be thinking about how it all slipped away? Or will you still be smiling when it comes to the decision that you made today? Oh, it started so nice, men and women were both so polite, but then people started getting needy, getting greedy, and that was the end of that. That was the end of that. Oh, that was the end of that. That was the end, that was the end, that was the end, that was the end, that was the end of that. That was the end, that was the end, that was the end of that, that was the end of that. I always get really into that ending. So that's the end of that. That's the end of this video. Thanks for stopping by, and don't forget to stay classy. We'll see you next week. We will talk about Falling Apart, the title track from this album. So I hope you'll come back next week and learn about that one with me. Thanks so much for being here, guys. I love you all. I'll see you next week. Bye.